What's good, YouTube? Noctoad here, welcoming you back to our next deck profile on the channel. And today we're deck profiling my Quantum Monarch build, which I believe is a lot more consistent than the pure builds that I've been seeing everyone else run. And so in today's video, I'm going to be going ahead and profiling the deck and explaining why I chose to play certain cards and why I didn't choose to play others. So we're going to jump right into the deck with the main square of the deck. We have our 2 Idea. Now I'm only playing 2 Idea just because I believe that once you draw into one and once you get one into the grave, you don't really want to see another one. If you have one in the grave already set up with an Eidos, you don't want to be seeing another one. You don't want to top deck into an Idea when you have nothing else in hand. So once you get your first one in grave, that's all you really need. And I just have ways of searching this out. So I feel like 2 is better than 3 in that Idea. Get it? Following up with that, we're playing 3 of our Eidos. Now Eidos is a super good card that really helps this deck run. A lot of people have been playing 2, I'm not sure why. They say they don't want to draw into it, but if you draw into this, you still gain an additional normal summon when you normal summon it. It's not like Idea where once you summon it, if you don't have if you can't grab anything or they get veilered, you're kind of done for. So I like this a lot better at 3 than having Idea at 3, and that's all I've got for that. Then we're following it up with the big guys. We're playing 3 Aether, the Heavenly Monarch. Aether is one of the big beasts of the deck and something that you always want to have on hand, especially when you want to be able to disrupt your opponent's plays. And then we're also playing 3 of the Erebus, because being able to shuffle anything on your opponent's field, graveyard, or hand back into the deck is really good and can set them back really far away, especially if they work really hard for a combo. You can just get rid of it right away. So 3 Erebus and 3 Aether. Then we're also following it up with 2 Kuras. I've seen people playing 1, I've seen people playing 2, I've been seeing people play 3. I like 2 just because you don't always want to draw into it, but if you draw into one of them, you still have one of them that's in the deck, hopefully, that you can go ahead and use Aether for to disrupt your opponent's plays. So it's better to have 2, I think, than 3. 3 is Clogia, in my opinion, but having just 1 and you draw into that, maybe in your opening hand, you're just kind of stuck with it, and you're going to have to figure out where to go from there with it. Then since we are playing the Quantum build, we're also playing 2 of the Super Quantum Red Layer. Super Quantum Red Layer is amazing and really helps the consistency of this deck just because you can special summon this. When it's special summoned, or tribute summoned actually, you can add 1 back to your hand. So once you get 1 into grave and you grab the other red layer to your hand, you can just cycle them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and just have them continuously in their hand unless they have something to stop it. Now to get those to our hand, we're also playing the 1 blue layer. You really only want 1. If you draw into more than 1, you're kind of done for. So you just want to have 1, and hopefully you won't draw into it, and you can just use your E-Telly to draw or to special summon it. If you do normal summon it, that's fine. You can just normal summon it, grab a red, and either special summon an Idea Idea and then special an Eidos and then tribute this thing to get rid of it, or you can just wait for it to get destroyed and then just shuffle it back in the deck because you don't really want to be seeing it. And then our last 2 monsters are 2 hand traps. We're playing the 2 Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is super good in this format, hitting that Idea, hitting that Eidos, just hitting everything really. It hits all the decks except for Cosmos. It doesn't really hit them because they can just chain their effects and then banish to get whatever they want. But it hits all other decks, and it's just an amazing card, and I love it. Onto the spells, we're playing 3 of the staple of the deck, 3 Pantheism, 1 card that everybody's saying is going to get hit. I'm not sure if it's going to get hit. I don't think it will, just because if they hit this card, it's going to kill the consistency and make it even worse than it already is. And it's just going to be really bad for the deck, and it would kill it off. So if they're looking to destroy the deck and they don't want people playing it anymore, they're going to hit this card. If they want people to keep playing it and they want to bring out more support, or if they want to do something else with it or keep it around for a while, not going to hit this card. And then we're playing 3 Domain. A lot of people are playing 2 now just because they think that Pepe got hit. I can tell you right now, Pepe did not get hit. I was playing the other day in a tournament, and I got dropped. Someone dropped a what did they drop on me? They dropped a Felgrand, they dropped a Rafflesia, they dropped a Majester, and they dropped an Abyss Dweller on me. First turn with 5 cards in hand. They went first, and I didn't have anything to stop, and they just went off, and I couldn't even think about how to beat this hand, and it just wasn't even funny. So having 3 of these, especially if you want to go first, you can hopefully stop one of their cards. And if you feel like you don't really need these, say you're playing against Cosmo, you're playing against some of their deck that doesn't really use their extra deck, like say Light Swarms, you can always side these out because you don't always need them, but they're just there to help you push over your opponent's monsters, whether they have something that's has a really huge attack and you can't get over it. This helps, especially when people are going to be playing the new Super Quantums, like a pure build of that, which will be coming to our channel as well. When they get their giant Great King Magnus card out, you can't really get over it unless you have that. Moving on, we also have more consistency to the deck. We have our 3 Tenacity. 3 Tenacity is amazing. You can reveal one of your Mega Monarchs or just Majesties or anything like that, and you can go ahead and add a spell or trap to your hand. So it just really helps with the consistency. You can kind of grab whatever you need at the time, whether it be a Stormforth, a Pantheism, a Domain, whatever you need. Even if it's a Prime, if you have a Pantheism hand, you can just grab a Prime and then ditch that Prime with your Pantheism and have that set up in Grave. And then we also have our Stormforth, which is getting reprinted in the gold packs. I'm super happy about that. Not because it's going to be gold, but because it's going to be a higher rarity than common, and I think this card deserves to be better than common. So amazing card. If anything's going to get hit in this deck, it's going to be this, just because this can get over anything. And it's really good to combo off with this when you can set this and then activate it during your opponent's turn and use Aether's Effect, banishing that same Stormforth and then tributing that your opponent's monster and one of your own, and it just stops them from doing any of their plays. We're following that up with 2 Return. A lot of people are only playing 1 of this card. I love 2. You can ditch with Pantheism if you need to, but it really helps the consistency of this deck. If you have one of these in hand and an E-Tele, you can E-Tele for that blue later, add the red, activate the Return, tribute the blue for the red, shuffle the blue back in your deck, activate Return, and then start adding your Monarchs to your hand, and it really helps you. Because I've seen a lot of times where you can brick, where you open up all littles, and you have none of the bigs. Or you have all the bigs and none of the littles. So this kind of helps with that consistency a little bit, so you can add what you need to your hand when you need it. And then along with that, we are playing the 1 March of the Monarchs. A lot of people undervalue this card. I think it's amazing, and it's definitely a 1-of, if not a 2-of. I'm playing it at 1 just because I do have a shortage of space. And because we were playing the Quantum version, we do have to play the E-Teles, obviously. I'm playing 2 instead of 3. You only have 2 red layers. You really only want to special summon that blue layer twice. If you can get that first one off, grab a red layer, get it off again, grab another red layer. You now no longer need the blue layer, and you don't really want to draw into it. So if you can special summon it the second time, grab the second red layer so you can get your red layers combo going. You can just let that thing get banished. It doesn't matter anymore. You don't want that thing in the deck, because if you start top decking and you're running out of time and you're getting desperate, you don't want to top deck a blue layer and just sit there and smile at your opponent and say, well, GG. So I'm only playing 2 of these. Definitely a good card. You don't really need 3 though. You don't really want to open up a blue layer and an E-Tele, and you don't want to open up with 2 E-Teles. At least I don't. I don't know about you guys. And then we're playing 1-ofs of Foolish Burial, Reinforcement, and the 1-for-1. I wasn't playing Reinforcement for the longest time, but since I cut down from 3 Idea to 2, I added that back in there. 1-for-1 is amazing just because you can get it out, and you don't have to worry about getting Veilered. And even if you do get Veilered, you can go ahead and still normal summon because you haven't wasted your normal summon yet. Sometimes I do side out the Reinforcement, but it is a good card. And Foolish is helps at hands, whether it be sending an Erebus to grave, so you can grab that if you don't have a big, or you can send an Idea to grave to add a Pantheism or any of your other banished spell or traps back to your hand. And then we are playing 2 traps in the deck, 2 of the Prime Monarch. You don't really need 3. I usually dump at least 1 or 2 of these in the first turn, just so I can get them going in the grave. It's really good when you can banish one of your spell or traps in the grave, special one of these during your opponent's turn, and then you can go ahead and special one during your turn as well. Keeping those alive, making sure that you always have one on field at all times, so you can either use it as tribute fodder, or you can go ahead and hold on to it and use it as a defensive card. Now, since we aren't going over an extra deck for this deck, since it doesn't really use one, I thought I should probably go over the side deck, just to explain kind of my choices of it. So we are playing 2 Twin Twister, 3 is too cloggy for me. 2 is just there for decks that have cards that we don't really want to see. They're siding in the Masquerade Strix, they're siding in the Iron Imperial Walls, they're siding in a whole bunch of stuff to hit us, and we want to get rid of those, as well as if Pepe's out, we can hopefully stop their Pendulum Summons before they can even happen. Then also I'm playing 1 Regeki and 1 Dark Hole in the side deck. I ran into this problem where if you're playing against Pepe or some other deck that can really set up turn 1 and you're going second so you don't brick, if they can set up a huge field against you, you can't really come back from it. You can possibly Stormforth one of them away, Erebus another one away, but if they have stuff on the field, like say 4 or 5 monsters like I mentioned earlier, where he had a Magister, a Felgrand, Abyss, Dweller, and the Rafflesia, this would have came in handy if I would have drawn into it, just because I could have board wiped him, and he would have saved his Felgrand obviously, but then I could have hopefully pushed over that Felgrand, and he would have negated any of my effects because he would have had to save himself instead. Then we are also citing 2 Majesty's Fiend, amazing card, way better than Vanity's Fiend. This card stops Cosmos in its tracks. It stops your fight against Mermail, because Mermail can be a huge problem for this deck. I do side it because I do have I replace him with the Kuras. If I want to go ahead and side things out, I'd probably side out the Rhoda and something else for the Majesty's Fiend. If I'm going against Cosmos, I'd probably side out a Domain, because you don't really need Domain against that deck, since they don't really use their extra deck at all. And then we're also playing 2 Trap Eater. Trap Eater is there for those people who really want to be cheeky and side in their Vanities or their Iron Imperial Wall or their Masquerade Strix. And instead of having to try and draw into something, this card is amazing because it can just eat that trap up, special summon himself, and then you have tribute fodder. So you can go ahead and tribute it away that same turn. So that's pretty amazing as well. And then we're playing 2 Book of Eclipse for the mirror match for when they side in the Fog Kings. I don't really want to side in Fog Kings. I feel like if you end up siding in the Fog Kings and say you have them on board and it's really good, really good, but then they can just go ahead and if you don't like tribute 3 monsters to make it at 3,000, they can just start specialing their prime and just like biding their time until they can draw into something. So that's my idea for it. I'd rather have these instead of the Fog King, and you can just do whatever you want and go over their stuff. And then we're playing 2 traps in our side. We're playing 2 Solemn Scolding. Solemn Scolding is an amazing card, a lot better than I gave it credit for when it first came out. Wasn't really a huge fan of it, but now I just see how amazing it is when it can stop pretty much everything, and you just have to pay 3,000. Sometimes I like siding both, sometimes I like siding one. Just really depends on what I'm going against and what the matchup really is. And then our last 3 cards are 3 big bosses. We're playing the 1 Mega Caius, the 1 Mega Thessalos, and then the BLS. Caius, I usually go in for anything that's playing dark, so BA, the new Red Eyes Black Dragon deck. Thessalos I always want to side in. If I'm going to try and go first, say against Pepe, I'll slide this puppy in, that way I can hopefully hit something in his deck, or his hand set to the grave, and that way I can hopefully get that in a Domain on the field, and it works really well. And then BLS is there just for like a win more card, or if they have cards I can't really get rid of, say by battle, I can go ahead and banish it. So that's the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave those down in the comment section below, because all your support is greatly appreciated. But I really hope that you did enjoy the deck. Like I said, this is the Quantum Monarchs build that I'm currently playing. Next, I'm probably going to bring my Super Quantum Pure build, and we'll see how that works, and we'll see what happens with this deck. But thank you so much for watching. This is the Hypnotic Toad, signing out for now. Peace out.